Good morning, Colorado. You are listening to the Daily Sun Up. It's a conversation with the Colorado Sun. I'm team editor David Krause. Before we jump into today's conversation, here is a quick message from our sponsor.
Support comes from Credit Union of Colorado, proud to call Colorado home for more than 90 years. They're a local institution with a track record of showing up for the community and putting people first. Credit Union of Colorado. Honestly good. Learn more at honestlygood.org. Ready for your next adventure? SCP Wildfree Colorado Springs Hotel is a reimagined vintage motel and base camp for those who wander with purpose and return with stories. Dog-friendly, planet-conscious, and rooted in our Colorado community. Explore SCP Wildfree Colorado Springs Hotel and book your unforgettable summer travel today at scphotel.com/Colorado Springs. You deserve a bank that fits your lifestyle, with financial services delivered by people who truly understand your community. From the Western Slope to the Front Range, Alpine Bank is proud to be Colorado's community bank. Learn more at alpinebank.com.
Now, back to the show.
I'm Justin George, Public Policy Editor for the Colorado Sun, and this is The Unaffiliated, a political podcast series that's part of the Daily Sun Up. Today I'm talking with Colorado Sun political reporter Colleen Slevin about why Colorado's citizen-initiated process, designed more than a century ago to give voters a check on powerful interests, is increasingly shaped by groups with the money to pay for signature gathering and campaigns. We also discuss just how successful ballot initiatives are. Colorado voters are used to seeing a long list of statewide ballot questions, but getting an initiative in front of voters can cost millions of dollars, and that has changed who is most able to use this public process. Colleen wrote about the growing role of special interest groups in creating Colorado ballot measures this week, and she joins us to talk more about it. Colleen, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Let's start with the basics here. When did Colorado's ballot initiative process start, and what was it originally meant to do?
Yeah, well, state lawmakers asked voters back in 1910 whether they wanted to allow ordinary people to propose ballot questions and get those questions before their fellow voters. It was a reform that was popular at the time around the country, aimed at checking the power of big business and urban political machines during the Progressive era. That was a time when cities were growing quickly and there was a lot of widening economic inequality. So this was seen as a way to give people themselves, the voters, a chance to affect what kinds of laws were passed. And it was very popular from the get-go in Colorado. The first year that questions were allowed on the ballot, 2 years later, in 1912, there were 20 initiatives from voters, from citizens on the ballot. They included a recall process for elected officials, creating juvenile courts, and there were separate measures, one limiting the working day for women to 8 hours and another one for miners. Miners, meaning coal miners, to 8 hours a day.
Given Colorado's mining history, that's really interesting. Where does Colorado rank when it comes to the number of ballot questions voters are asked, and why do you think it became so popular here?
Yeah, Colorado is among the top states for ballot questions, which I think voters here probably have suspicions of, especially people who sit down and vote at the last minute. When they look at all those questions, they have to decide. In 2024, Colorado actually was the top state for the amount of questions. It had 14 statewide ballot questions. Half were from the public, and half were from the legislature. That was the most of any state that year. But California is the overall champion through the years, though. Between 1960 and 2024, Colorado had the third highest number of voter-initiated ballot measures. That was behind California in first place and Oregon in second place. And that's according to a count kept by a professor who leads the University of Southern California's Initiative and Referendum Institute.
It seems to be a Western process. That's really interesting.
Yeah, there are 26 states overall that have this process, and most of them are in the West. This process has not always been popular with lawmakers who are elected, and there's something about the West that just seems like people have been more open to giving this a try. Some states do allow the legislature to be involved in the process or have a higher bar for, how many signatures you have to collect to get on the ballot. And some states don't allow people to be paid to collect signatures. Colorado doesn't really have that many rules. It does allow people to be paid to collect signatures, and that kind of more wide open process is probably the main reason why questions have been so popular here.
And lawmakers can be involved, correct?
Well, lawmakers are involved in Colorado usually after a ballot is passed, a measure is passed, like the voters want something to happen. Then state lawmakers have to decide, how to actually implement that and do the nuts and bolts. But they're not that involved on the front end.
Gotcha. Your story shows that Colorado voters have been asked to decide a lot of ballot questions over the years. How often did these, voter-initiated measures actually pass?
Yeah, for how popular they are with getting on the ballot, they're actually not that popular in passing. It's a little over a third. About 36% of the questions that have been asked through the initiative process from the public over the 100 years that's been allowed, only 36% of those questions have passed. And that's according to a tally by the state legislature.
And then questions referred to the ballot by state lawmakers?
Yeah, those have done better, and those have passed nearly 60% of the time.
Gotcha. So what's changed over the last several years here? Why has it become so expensive to get a question onto the statewide ballot? And where do those costs go?
Well, yeah, in 2016, voters overwhelmingly agreed to make it harder to change the state constitution by requiring backers of constitutional ballot changes to collect signatures across the state. They have to get at least 2% of the registered voters in each of the state's 35 state Senate districts. So it's become more expensive to pay people to collect that amount of signatures spread across the state. And also organizers have to do that very quickly. Under state statute, they have 6 months to do that. And the closer you get to that deadline, the more you have to pay the signature gatherers to collect those signatures.
And so because of that, we're seeing a lot more special interest groups, correct? What are some of the major ballot questions Colorado voters may see this November? And who is backing them? What special interests are?
Yeah, well, this year, Colorado voters could be asked to decide up to about 15 ballot questions. The Secretary of State's office is still looking at the signatures on the different ballot proposals to see who's going to make the cut. So they have until September 2nd to do that. But right now, we have 7 ballot initiatives that have been approved so far. 3 of them are linked to Advance Colorado, a conservative advocacy group that doesn't disclose its donors. They include a proposal that would enshrine the right to use natural gas for cooking and heating in the state's constitution. Another that would strengthen penalties for crimes involving fentanyl. And the third would require law enforcement to let federal immigration authorities know if someone is charged with a crime and that person is in the country illegally.
And Colleen, you think there'd be about 15 you think voters could see on the ballot?
Yes, there could be up to 15.
Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Thanks to Colleen Slevin, political reporter for the Colorado Sun. You can read her full story about how special interests are playing a bigger role in Colorado's ballot question process at coloradosun.com. Thanks for listening to the Daily Sun Up. I'm Justin George.
Thanks for listening. And finally, here are a few stories that you should know about today.
U.S. Representative Gabe Evans' support for President Trump could be a line of attack for Democrats as he heads into a tough re-election race this November. Evans faces a challenge by Democratic State Representative Manny Rutenau. Evans unseated Democratic U.S. Representative Yadira Caraveo by less than a percentage point in 2024. Colorado lakes are drying up fast, giving anglers along the Front Range unrestricted fishing access in key reservoirs. Falling water levels have led the state to suspend fishing limits at Westminster's McKay Lake and some waters at Weld County's Banner Lakes. Colorado Parks and Wildlife is now deciding how and where to stop lakes for next year. Colorado loves its ballot questions, ranking among the top states for the most on the ballot. But voters also like to say no, a lot. In more than 100 years that Colorado voters have been able to put questions on the state's ballot, only 36% of those 256 questions have passed. The Sun's Colleen Slevin has the details.
To read these stories and much more, visit our website, coloradosun.com. As an award-winning nonprofit news outlet, we take our mission of credible, independent journalism seriously, and you can check out our trust indicators at coloradosun.com/ethics. Our music is by the Denver-based Matt Skellinger Group. A link to their music is in our show notes, and a special thanks to Swallow Hill Music. I'm David Krause. See you next time.